Tonight at 6, baseless claims lead to real threats at a Denver voting software company.
In every instance, they found that Dominion scanners had counted accurately, and that's been our experience here in Colorado.
Restaurants strike back at the state health department, arguing that closing now could close them for good.
It'll be a death sentence for quite a few businesses if they shut down again.
The state gets it, but says we'll lose more than jobs if we don't act soon.
If we stay on our current trajectory, we'll see that we have 6,600 deaths that occur by the end of the year.
Snows have pretty much ended, but now comes a clear, cold night tonight.
Plus, Peyton Manning and John Lynch learned they're on the short list for a call from the Hall.
And travel at DIA hums along despite the CDC's warning.
On November 12th, President Trump claimed that a Denver-based company called Dominion had deleted nearly 3 million votes that were in his favor. The president offered no proof, neither did his supporters, and neither has his legion of attorneys.
They've offered no proof because there is no proof. And just as President Trump won the 2016 election by the will of the people, he lost it in 2020.
But this story doesn't end with the president, and unless we can convince people to start believing in our election system again, it may not end with 2020 either. Denver7's Megan Lopez reports.
By now, you've probably heard the national rhetoric about Dominion voting systems.
There's been no oversight of Dominion or its software.
Claims that offer no proof and that the company categorically denies, even dedicating the main page of its website to debunking. The company says the allegations are so serious its employees are being harassed and tells Denver7 there's been death threats and even a bounty on an employee. But with rhetoric roaring a national story,
there's just some reservations I had about the Dominion software in particular,
is now playing out on a local level. This week, the Jefferson County GOP sent a letter to County Clerk George Stern asking for an audit for the 2018 and 2020 elections.
Ideally, we could run it through a non-Dominion system and get either a large enough sample size or all of them and see if there's anything there.
To be clear, Jefferson County GOP Chair Denise Munn says she trusts the election process, and the county already performed a risk-limiting audit per state law.
I'm not alleging that there's any election fraud or that anything inappropriate happened.
But Denise has her doubts, and she wants to be sure. Meanwhile, former Republican Secretary of State Wayne Williams insists it's accurate.
I have absolutely no doubt with the way Dominion operates in Colorado.
He says in Colorado anyway, with all the election safeguards, the process works.
We have run some 400 of these post-election tests and have never found an error in the Dominion software in Colorado.
And when it comes to the 2018 election, which he oversaw,
I don't think there's a need to audit it, but it's also not something that's secret. And so if somebody wants to audit that process, they're welcome to do it.
There's also a matter of cost. For close races that come within half a percentage point, the jurisdiction pays. Jeffco didn't have any races like that, so it's on those requesting it to pay for it.
We're willing to accept that within reason,
if the county agrees to another audit. Megan Lopez, Denver7.
All right, let's talk weather because the roads are looking much better tonight than they were this morning.
Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson with us. Talk about what the rest of the evening looks like. Mike?
We had a pretty good snow event out of this storm system moved through. Most areas picked up anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow, a little bit more up at Federal Heights. That storm moved through quickly, and now temperatures are the only thing falling out there. Already into the 20s. That's the key tonight because we had some melting. Now we'll get some areas that are going to refreeze and ice up. There are no advisories in effect at the present time. No warnings anywhere in the state. There is a little bit of snow that still lingers down over south central Colorado, but most of the action has gone off into the Midwest, where they're getting not only snow, but severe thunderstorms in parts of Oklahoma. As far as our weather conditions over the next couple of days, clear and cold tonight with those scattered slippery spots. Lots of melting tomorrow, but there is another chance of snow coming up on Thanksgiving Day. I'll have those details in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. It isn't as slammed as usual, but DIA was still plenty busy today with holiday travelers. The airport tells us 133,000 people passed through its gates between Friday and Monday. The Associated Press says the past weekend was the busiest three-day period for U.S. airports since March.
Nearly 24 counties have entered level red tonight. Not all have done so willingly. Weld County in particular has scoffed at the rules and is refusing to close restaurants that continue serving customers indoors.
And this isn't a new tactic. Weld has been saying this sort of thing since the start of the pandemic, but it does take on new meaning now that hospitals are filling up and cases are being reported in that county at a rate of 800 a day.
Governor Polis addressed the defiance today, reminding businesses and counties that this isn't a matter of public opinion. This is the law.
Every business in the state of Colorado needs to follow our laws. And whether you agree with it or not, in red counties, not having indoor dining is the law of Colorado under a temporary health order. So, of course, any type of business that violates a health order, whether it's hepatitis, salmonella, or COVID, will be, could lose their license to operate at that retail outlet and lose their liquor license.
Now, Longmont will not be left to shoulder Weld County's load. The mayor told his colleagues this morning that Longmont Hospital should refuse patients from Weld County. And Weld commissioners didn't appreciate that. This evening, they released a 3-paragraph statement that reads in part, quote, Weld County's statement about promoting personal responsibility and enforcing mandates has been woefully misunderstood by those living in fear and wishing to be governed by intimidation. If the mandates put in place months ago worked, why are the numbers going up all along the Front Range? The mayor is looking for something to blame. And hear this, they write, Weld County is not the problem, unquote. As of last week, Weld County had only 3 available ICU beds.
Castle Rock isn't so much defying the governor's orders as asking for an exemption. In a letter to the governor, the mayor and council members argue restaurants are being treated unfairly, adding that each loss of a local business permanently alters Castle Rock's unique character. Castle Rock is holding a special meeting on this right now, and we'll let you know what comes of it once it's over. Businesses in Loveland are also taking issue with these new standards. Denver7's Ivan Rodriguez with that tonight. Ivan?
Shannon, good evening. More than 70 businesses have signed on to push back against this new order coming in here in Larimer County, specifically here in Loveland. These businesses tell me it's not a political move. It's a way for them to ensure they keep their doors open and their employees working.
I'm calling on all of the businesses of Loveland, Colorado to stand up for your right to survive.
Owner of Betta Gumbo, Clay Caldwell, says his constitutional right to survive is being threatened by the state and Larimer County Health's decision to move to the red zone.
The Board of Health jumped the orange level to go to red by using the numbers from the state, not from our own county. And then Loveland is in even less. That's foolishness.
Larimer County Public Health says that's not the case, and their positivity rate is 12.1% compared to the state's 12.3%. Loveland is also second to Fort Collins when it comes to the number of COVID-19 cases.
If this shuts down, we'd have no idea where we'd go from here.
For Morgan Harrington, owner of Grimm Brothers Brewhouse, outdoor dining isn't a viable option because of their limited space. She's hoping this move to not comply with new guidelines opens a dialogue that finds a different solution.
This isn't us versus the health department. This is our community saying this isn't right and this isn't the way to handle this problem. We had to lay off every single one of our staff the first time around, and we've already got staff that's scared that we're going to have to lay them off again.
It's a stance the Loveland Chamber of Commerce agrees with and says in no way is it meant to minimize the seriousness of COVID-19. In a statement, they say in part, we are asking the county and governor's office to consider allowing us a variance option with the 5-star variance program that Mesa County Health and Chamber put into place back in August as a way to continue to do business in a safe and effective manner.
It'll be a death sentence for quite a few businesses if they shut down again.
The list of businesses against this new decision has continued to grow throughout the day. Many of them tell me they fear that they won't be able to survive if they're forced to operate under these red zone guidelines. Live in Loveland, Ivan Rodriguez, Denver7.
All right, Ivan, thank you for that. State Health Department reported another 4,100 cases today. Governor Polis says now 1 in 41 Coloradans is infectious. 1,700 people are currently in the hospital. At the current rate, we will exceed our ICU capacity by mid-January. Another 10 deaths attributed solely to the virus today. 2,466 people have been reported to died since March. Experts warn that number could double over the next 5 weeks.
It has been more than 2 years since Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts called 2825 Saratoga Trail home. And it's fair to wonder if anyone will ever call it home again. No one wants to buy it. And the interest it does receive is unwelcome.
Literally hundreds of cars have come by. People come by late at night. They're curious. They've been coming from out of state.
Neighbors and stakeholders weigh in on what should come of the Watts home tonight on Denver7 News at 10.
Another $10,000 added to the reward for information in the fire that killed the DIOL family. That money comes from the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE. That family of 5 found dead inside just the shell of their Green Valley Ranch home in August. And to date, only one known lead, a photo of 3 hooded suspects taken at the scene. An arson team is leading the investigation into a fire that forced the evacuation of more than 200 people in Colorado Springs. The Bear Creek fire came dangerously close to homes last Thursday. First responders were able to get a handle on it, though, before any damage was done.
50 people are suing the city of Denver on claims their constitutional rights were violated during the George Floyd protests. Mayor Michael Hancock and the city attorney were served the paperwork this morning. Protesters say police stepped on the First Amendment by denying them a peaceful assembly and by hampering free speech. They also allege they were detained without cause and assaulted with pepper spray and projectiles. The city says it has not yet reviewed the claims.
Coming up, leave the stereo, grab the masks.
That makes no sense to me.
Plus, we give thanks to a local group of do-gooders.
This entire year, people have been so giving.
A sweet surprise from the folks at the Colorado Ballet.
And Peyton Manning takes another step toward being enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You think he'll get in?
Whatever they feel is best. They've been working on their draft for some time now.